Hey, and welcome back to the deep dive. Think back for a moment. Have you ever really believed, okay, once this happens, I get married or have kids or, land that perfect job or finally get financially secure, then yeah, then I'll have lasting happiness.
Hmm.
Or maybe it was the other way around, like if I can just avoid this health scare or being single or money problems, then I'll be okay, permanently happy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's a really common way of thinking, isn't it? This idea that certain events will just deliver us happiness on a plate.
Right, or avoiding certain things guarantees it.
Exactly. We set up these simple cause and effect equations in our minds about well-being.
Okay, well, let's unpack that because for this deep dive, we're digging into some really interesting research that suggests this whole black and white view of happiness. Well, it might be missing something pretty important.
That's right. We're looking at a source that pulls together research from, well, all over psychology: positive, social, personality, clinical.
And it really challenges that simple formula, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It offers a much richer, more nuanced understanding of what actually contributes to our overall well-being.
So the aim here isn't, to give you the definitive recipe for happiness that's so personal anyway,
Of course.
but maybe to give you a broader perspective, some tools, maybe ways of thinking to help make healthier choices, especially when you're at this big life crossroads.
Yeah, it's about developing what Louis Pasteur called the prepared mind, being sort of psychologically ready for whatever life throws your way.
I like the prepared mind.
Exactly. So instead of seeing life as just, climbing towards constant joy or fighting off suffering,
Yeah.
we can explore how those moments we often label as purely negative, crises can actually be chances for something. Well, something more.
Okay. Opportunities, even. Let's start there with that first core myth, this idea that achieving X guarantees permanent happiness and avoiding Y ensures we're never unhappy. It sounds logical, but
But the research just doesn't really back it up. Our well-being, it seems, doesn't work on such fixed principles. Life's much more dynamic.
and how we react is key.
Exactly. How we react, how we adapt. It's far more complex than just good event happens, happy forever.
Okay, and you mentioned crisis points.
Hmm.
The source reframes these moments we usually dread. Not inherently bad, but potentially
Yeah,
opportunities. That feels a bit counterintuitive.
it can seem that way at first, yeah. But think about it, these are often the times that force us to, reconsider things, maybe develop new strength, find resilience we didn't know we had.
Yeah.
The source really emphasizes that how we greet these moments is crucial. It comes back to Pasteur's idea, chance favors a prepared mind. It's about having the right mindset, the right tools to navigate the tough stuff effectively.
So it's not just about surviving, but potentially growing through it, if your mind is prepared.
Precisely. And what's really fascinating, the source points to research showing that people who've actually faced some adversity, not constant trauma, but, significant negative life events, they often report being ultimately happier
Happier.
and less distressed, yeah, than people who've had surprisingly smooth, challenge-free lives.
Wow. Okay, that definitely flips the script. You'd just assume fewer bumps means more happiness,
Yeah,
right?
it absolutely would. It seems counterintuitive. But going through difficult things can, as the source puts it, kind of toughen us up.
Build resilience.
Exactly. That ability to bounce back, to handle future challenges, big or small. It's like building emotional muscle.
That's a great analogy. And it's not just about bouncing back, is it? The source also mentions making sense of these hard times helps shape who we are.
Yes, finding meaning in adversity. When we wrestle with challenges and integrate them into our story, they help define our identity, give us a stronger sense of self. They become, part of who we are.
Out of our narrative.
Mm.
Yeah, that makes sense. Even the difficult chapters contribute. Okay, so we can adapt to the bad stuff, maybe even grow. But what about the good stuff? We finally get that promotion, find the dream partner. Surely that leads to lasting joy.
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. There's this concept called hedonic adaptation.
Right, I've heard of this.
It's our amazing and sometimes frustrating human tendency to just get used to, well, pretty much anything positive.
The new car, the new house.
The new relationship, the dream job, even financial security. Over time, these things tend to deliver fewer and fewer rewards. That initial buzz fades.
The hedonic treadmill. We run and run to get the next thing, but our happiness level kind of stays the same.
Pretty much, yeah. And that's a huge obstacle to lasting happiness, isn't it? If we automatically start taking the good stuff for granted, how can the joy last?
Hmm.
The source really encourages us to, quote, think, don't blink. when it comes to these assumptions.
Think, don't blink. I like that. Don't just rely on that first gut feeling about what will make you happy.
Exactly. It touches on that idea of system 1 versus system 2 thinking.
The fast, intuitive brain versus the slower, more analytical one.
Right. System 1 is that quick gut reaction, this promotion will make me happy forever, which, Gladwell wrote about in Blink.
But those gut reactions aren't always right, are they? Psychology shows they can be full of biases.
Absolutely. These quick mental shortcuts can lead to errors. Yet even when they're maybe not rational, those first intuitive thoughts feel so compelling.
Like facts.
Yeah, exactly. They feel right. Even if they're based on these happiness myths, we often prefer them.
So our brains kind of jump to easy conclusions. We need to pause and examine those "this will make me happy" assumptions before making big life changes based on them.
Definitely.
Okay, let's take a classic one. Marriage. The myth. I'll be happy when I marry the right person.
Oh, yeah, that's a huge one. So much hope gets invested in that idea. Finding that perfect match is the key to lifelong bliss.
Hmm.
But the reality, even in the happiest marriages, is that you can't just sustain that initial peak satisfaction level forever without, real effort and commitment from both sides.
And that intense, passionate love at the start, it naturally fades. It's not necessarily a bad sign.
Well, yes, in part. There are evolutionary reasons, physiological ones, even practical ones. Imagine staying in that state of total obsession forever.
You'd never get anything done, like that line from Before Sunset.
Exactly. If that initial fire didn't cool a bit, we would end up doing nothing at all with our lives. It shares some brain pathways with addiction, that intense early phase.
Right.
And the research suggests this heightened passion usually shifts to something more stable, maybe less intense, within the first couple of years.
The honeymoon phase ends.
Yeah, and often overall satisfaction dips a bit compared to that initial high as things settle down.
So what can couples do? Just accept the fade.
Well, the source really stresses the role of variety. Hedonic adaptation loves routines.
To shake things up.
Exactly. Variety in thoughts, feelings, behaviors. Novelty actually triggers dopamine in the brain, that reward chemical. Like couples who try new activities together, even simple stuff.
Like cooking a new meal or exploring a new park.
Yeah, they report greater satisfaction. It's not always about grand gestures. It could be learning something new about your partner each week.
So actively mixing it up. Big and small.
Precisely. And related to that, but distinct, is surprise. Surprise is also crucial.
Yeah. Keeps things fresh.
Definitely. A spontaneous date, a thoughtful little gift, it breaks the routine and can reignite those positive feelings.
Okay, that makes sense. What about physical intimacy? The source mentions that the intensity, well, it naturally ebbs.
It does. It's a natural process, but it often catches people by surprise, leads to disappointment sometimes. That initial intense passion, it's just not biologically designed to last at that peak forever.
And surveys show it's tied more to relationship length than age.
Often, yes. Sexual desire, satisfaction, frequency, they tend to decrease the longer a couple is together, even among younger couples.
Interesting. So a couple together 10 years might see a bigger drop than an older couple just starting out.
That's what the data often indicates. And interestingly, the source suggests focusing on approach goals is more effective for passion than avoidance goals. Meaning, instead of let's try not to argue about sex, focus on let's make time for more intimate moments, even just cuddling or talking. Actively build the positive.
Gotcha. Focus on adding good stuff, not just avoiding bad stuff.
Exactly. So while there's no magic bullet to keep that first intense passion burning forever,
Right.
understanding it's likely a normal human thing in long-term relationships helps manage expectations and focus on other deep, meaningful parts of the connection.
Okay, so maybe that constant romantic high isn't the key.
Yeah.
But what about other positive emotions? Just, everyday contentment, joy, curiosity.
Oh, absolutely crucial. Those feelings, joy, contentment, pride, interest, they do much more than just feel good. Barbara Fredrickson's research, the broaden and build theory,
Yeah.
suggests these emotions actually broaden our mindset. They make us more open, more creative, build trust, give us a sense of meaning, control.
So laughing together isn't just fun, it actually builds the relationship.
Exactly. It creates these upward spirals. More positive emotions lead to more positive thoughts, more positive experiences, strengthening the bond, building resilience.
Like Fredrickson said, they unlock paths of growth.
Precisely. They help us become better versions of ourselves.
So actively cultivating those everyday good moments, even small ones, is really key. Okay, but relationships aren't always positive moments. What about problems? The usual advice is don't sweat the small stuff, but the source adds a twist.
It does. Generally good advice, sure, but sometimes the small stuff can actually signal bigger underlying problems.
Wow.
If you constantly ignore minor hurts or disagreements, they can fester. Research shows that while really happy couples often overlook small slights,
Give the benefit of the doubt.
right, but couples who are already struggling might actually benefit from paying closer attention to those small negative things, not to nitpick, but to make sure core issues aren't being ignored.
So, in troubled relationships, just slapping on a positive attitude might mask real problems that need addressing.
Exactly. You need to be willing to tackle the core issues. But interestingly, the source also mentions something called linguistic synchrony.
What's that?
It's subtly adapting your communication style, pace, tone, word choice to be more like your partner's.
Why?
It signals you're paying attention, you understand. It can really build connection and smooth over conflicts. If they speak slowly, you slow down a bit too.
It makes them feel heard.
Yes. And actually, the source suggests distracted listening, like half listening while scrolling your phone, can be more damaging than even arguing sometimes.
Wow. Because it signals you just don't care.
Precisely. Indifference can feel worse than disagreement when you're trying to share something important. And using that linguistic synchrony, even in tense moments, can make it more likely you'll both feel understood and actually resolve things.
Like building a little bridge with how you talk.
Okay. But sometimes problems are big, and the source mentions seeking support outside the marriage. That might feel risky to some. It might, but strong social support is fundamental,
Yeah.
especially when navigating stressful times like serious marital issues. Turning to trusted friends, family, maybe a therapist, even pets.
That's just really?
Yeah, they can provide comfort. But people can offer perspective, diffuse worries, give advice, practical help.
A buffer.
Exactly. It makes you feel less alone, loved, understood. The source might mention that hill study,
Oh, yeah.
where people saw a hill as less steep if they were standing next to a friend. Social support literally makes challenges feel less daunting, including marital ones.
That's powerful. Okay, support is key. What about finding closure or processing really difficult relationship stuff internally?
The source talks about adopting a self-distancing perspective.
How does that work?
Instead of replaying a negative event purely through your own emotional lens, you try to view it almost like an observer, a fly on the wall.
Detach a bit.
Yeah. It helps you reframe it, gain insight, find closure. Just reliving it emotionally often keeps you stuck in the negative feelings.
But seeing it from a distance allows for more constructive thinking.
Exactly. It promotes problem solving, reduces hostility, and even lowers the physical stress response, a really useful tool.
Definitely. Now, sometimes relationships end, divorce. The myth is often that it's just failure and permanent unhappiness.
But the reality is usually much more complex. Yes, divorce is hard loss, adjustment.
Huge disruption.
Absolutely. But research consistently shows most people are resilient. They survive, often they thrive afterward. Happiness levels tend to increase over time post-divorce for many.
Resilience again. That ordinary magic.
Yes, that capacity to bounce back, we often underestimate it. Actively reflecting on how you've grown or become stronger through the experience can really help foster that growth.
Finding the growth in the pain. Okay, let's switch myths. Another big one. I'll be happy when I have kids. Such a strong societal script.
It really is. But the source, again, offers a more nuanced view. Parenthood doesn't automatically equal constant joy for everyone.
Right, like the parent who loves their child deeply but finds the day-to-day grind of parenting, well, not enjoyable.
Exactly. It's okay to acknowledge that complexity. And guess what comes back?
Hedonic adaptation.
You got it. We adapt to the joys, the initial thrill fades, and the daily realities, the demands, the worries set in. It can be exhausting.
So parents do this cognitive work, like finding the silver lining when your kid gets suspended.
Yeah, or rationalizing tantrums. It's about managing the tough parts. Keeping the big picture in mind helps too, why you chose this, how it evolves, the contribution you're making.
And breaks. The source stresses taking breaks.
Oh, crucially, it's not selfish, it's essential. Prevents burnout, restores energy, clarifies priorities, whether it's a weekend away or just protected time for yourself regularly.
Recharge the batteries.
Exactly. And the source likely notes that people without kids find fulfillment in many other areas, avoiding that all eggs in one basket scenario.
Multiple sources of identity.
Which builds resilience. And for parents facing unexpected challenges, like a child with special needs, adapting goals is key. Focusing on realistic ways to connect and care rather than sticking rigidly to outdated expectations.
Flexibility. Finding meaning in the reality you have. Okay, let's talk career. The myth of constant advancement leading to happiness.
Another powerful one in our culture. But again,
Adaptation.
adaptation. We get used to the new title, the bigger salary. The buzz fades, expectations rise, and we're soon looking for the next step just to feel okay.
Chasing the next high. The source mentions the wisdom of lower expectations, citing arranged marriages. That sounds odd.
It's provocative, right?
Hmm.
But the idea is, starting with fewer specific expectations might allow people to appreciate the ordinary positive things more deeply. It just highlights how much our expectations shape our satisfaction.
So manage expectations, appreciate what you have, and distinguish between a truly bad job and just inflated expectations.
Exactly. Is the job the problem, or is my perspective skewed? The source might suggest focusing more on doing good work, finding satisfaction in the tasks, rather than just fixating on the next promotion.
And breaks at work, those ultradian rhythms.
Yes. Short, regular breaks for revitalization. Research, like that bank study, shows it boosts engagement, satisfaction, productivity. Everything. Taking breaks makes you better at your job.
Counterintuitive, but makes sense.
Yeah.
And challenging negative thoughts about your job.
Right, like CBT, find disconfirming evidence, reframe stressful times as temporary. Don't let pessimism take over without challenging it.
Okay, now a big one that cuts across all these areas. Social comparison.
Oh.
Constantly looking at others.
Oh, it's a happiness killer, potentially. That puppet experiment the source might mention?
Tell me.
People felt happier getting poor feedback if their peers did worse than getting excellent feedback if their peers did even better.
Wow, that's sobering. That sardonic maxim. For true happiness, one's friends must fail.
Ouch. It highlights a dark side of our nature, doesn't it? Just being aware of that tendency is a start.
Definitely. What about goals? We think achieving them brings happiness, but the pursuit is important too.
Hugely important. Pursuing goals gives life structure, purpose, deadlines, chances to learn, interact. The process itself generates feelings of competence, mastery, efficacy, all contributing to happiness.
So enjoy the journey, not just the destination. Savor the small wins along the way.
Exactly. Find satisfaction in the effort, the growth.
Okay, let's shift to money. Financial insecurity causes so much anxiety. The myth: more money and more happiness.
Well, it's complicated. Yes, having enough for basic needs and security is vital for well-being, but beyond a certain point,
Diminishing returns.
right, more money correlates with higher overall life satisfaction, like am I happy with my life in general, but has a much smaller impact on daily feelings, moment-to-moment happiness.
So you can be happy with less than you think.
The evidence suggests yes, and the source talks about thrift, but reframed. How to get maximum happiness from spending less.
Like prioritizing experiences over stuff.
Exactly. Experiences tend to bring more lasting joy. Materialism is often linked to less satisfaction, emptier relationships, insecurity.
Less empathy, even.
Yeah. But you can turn things into experiences. Use possessions for shared activities. And focus on low-cost boosters. Exercise, community stuff, simple, regular things add up.
Recycling happiness.
Yes.
Appreciating what you have.
Yes. And reminiscing, savoring good past memories through photos or just talking about them.
Shifting focus from getting more to engaging with and appreciating what's here.
Okay, go.
Yeah.
But what about when people do achieve huge success? The paradox of success.
Right, those anecdotes, the rich developer feeling empty, the hedge fund manager feeling guilty, the famous actress feeling insecure.
They got the thing, but not the feeling.
Exactly. It powerfully shows success doesn't guarantee happiness. Goldie Hawn's insight is spot on. Success just enhances who you already are, good or bad.
So internal work is key, regardless of external success. Which brings us to focus and perspective.
Crucial. Our reality is shaped by what we pay attention to. Two people experience the same event, remember it totally differently.
We have control over our focus.
More than we think. And tools like meditation can help train that focus.
By teaching relaxation, breath awareness, mindfulness, you learn to observe your thoughts without getting swept away and gently redirect attention from negative loops to, say, the present moment or something positive.
The benefits.
Enhanced empathy, more positive emotions, less stress, better health, stronger immunity, even improved attention and intelligence, research suggests.
Training the mind. And the source also emphasizes frequent small pleasures over big, intense highs.
Yes, the research leans towards consistent, ordinary, positive moments, adding up to greater overall happiness and even longevity, more so than chasing rare, intense thrills.
Like savoring coffee, a walk, a hobby.
Those regular little mood boosts accumulate, like the benefits of regular exercise or religious service attendance shown in some studies. Consistency matters.
Okay, The source uses a three-legged table analogy for adapting to big changes, like a health crisis.
Yeah. The idea is the new you after the crisis might be different. Maybe a leg is missing from how you were before, but the table can still be strong, stable, you adapt.
Using coping strategies like mobilize and minimize.
Right. Mobilize resources to deal with the immediate issue, then work long-term to minimize its negative impact on your overall life.
And social support is vital here, too.
Absolutely critical in health challenges. It buffers stress, lowers heart rate, blood pressure, even perceived pain. It's like that magic pill again.
So building strong relationships is preparing for future crises.
One of the best preparations, yes.
Okay, finally, meaning and purpose.
Yeah.
And dealing with unfulfilled dreams.
Finding your life metric, deciding what a successful life means to you, and living accordingly each day. That provides deep purpose. Like Jesse, the sick child, finding meaning in helping others.
Sources of meaning.
Yeah.
Helping others, connecting to something larger than yourself.
People, institutions, values, faith, striving for a positive legacy.
And regrets.
Yeah.
Unfulfilled dreams, everyone has them.
Almost everyone, yeah. The source suggests confronting them, acknowledging those lost possible selves, is actually a sign of maturity.
Not wallowing, but accepting.
Yes, accepting and then using that life map idea. Assess where you are now and set new goals that fit your current reality, passions, strengths. Move forward rather than staying stuck ruminating.
Managing that rumination is key. Distraction, talking it out.
Postponing it until you're in a better headspace. And aiming for autobiographical coherence, weaving triumphs and regrets into a meaningful life story. Learning from failures, seeing them as stepping stones.
And becoming a satisficer, not always needing the absolute best choice.
Right. Aiming for good enough can prevent paralysis and regret when faced with too many options.
And lastly, that idea of the best years being behind us.
Challenging that. How can we really know? Memory is so biased. Rosy recollection.
We remember the past is better than it was.
Often, yeah. Travel studies show this. We reconstruct memories to fit our theories. Looking at an old diary might remind you of the stresses you forgot.
A good reality check. Okay, so wrapping this up. Happiness isn't a destination reached by hitting milestones or dodging bullets.
Not at all. It's much more dynamic. It's how we navigate life's twists and turns, how we adapt, manage expectations, cultivate positive feelings, build connections, find meaning, learn from everything, regrets included.
It's an ongoing process.
Exactly.
So a final thought for you listening. What's one myth of happiness you might be holding on to, maybe without even realizing it? And how could shifting your perspective, cultivating that prepared mind, open up new ways to find contentment right where you are, even when things are tough? Definitely something to think about. Thanks for diving deep with us today.